now as we visit the studios of the very talented artist and surfer, Jim Torlakson. Jim Torlakson is no stranger to most of us that live on the coast in Northern California, nor is he a stranger in any way, shape, or form to the arts community. Jim is an extremely well-known, extremely talented, and I can't stress the word extremely loud enough, talented man who's known pretty much worldwide, aren't you?
At least in some places of the world, yeah.
Yeah, for his photorealism. And you are going to get a chance to see some of these fantastic, fantastic pieces. Jim, how did you get started in art? Is this something that started when you were a small child?
I was your typical family artist type character. So the earliest memory that I have that relates directly to getting going with the drawing was that I was going through, based on Superman television series, a series of nightmares dealing with robots. In my family they called them robots, but I'll try to say robots through this. If I say robots, tough luck. But anyway, I kept waking up the family with these nightmares. So my father eventually said, could you draw me a picture of one? And I drew a picture of one, and the nightmares ceased, and the art career began.
How interesting. May I ask you what you drew? What was your nightmare?
Oh, it was just these I mean, now they'd be friendly-looking creatures, but, you know, Robbie the Robot type things with scaries.
They were all robots then?
Right.
Oh, that's really interesting.
And then I began making money at the age of 6, winning the junior art champion with the Chronicle, with a little drawing. Reach for the Sky, a little cowboy drawing behind a bar, where I ended up spending way too much of my life and time. But I got $2 for winning the champion for the day. So
and your career began.
Yeah, that was like, okay, art, money, I can do it.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, you've been featured in many galleries, haven't you, throughout the years?
Galleries and museums. There's museums around the United States that own my work in their private collections.
Oh, that's
actually public collections.
Any particular one that would be close enough for anyone to see?
The Achenbach Foundation for the Graphic Arts at the Palace Legion of Honor, the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art, the Berkeley Art Museum attached to the college are all museums that have some of my work in their collection.
Oh, gosh, that's fantastic. And you mentioned...
And the Oakland Museum.
Oh, all right. And you mentioned also college. I know you teach?
I teach at City College in San Francisco, and I'm teaching drawing and design at the moment.
So if you're as intrigued as we are with this fantastic gentleman, you can get to know him better and really learn a lot by taking one of his classes.
This is true.
Yeah, how long have you been teaching this?
About 5 years at City College in San Francisco, and I've been teaching for the last 30 years. I used to teach in the community colleges in San Mateo County.
Do you still sell your tapes?
Yeah, I tape on color theory. I sell tapes, I sell paintings, I sell t-shirts. I sell guitars. Call me, I'll sell you something.
Well, I can really vouch for his tapes. I'm a wannabe artist myself, and I bought Jim's tapes a few years ago, and I have always been fascinated with photorealism, and I did a painting of a trip that I took to Shasta with my little dog for a couple of weeks. And I was really, really honored that when I put it in a show, they hung my watercolor with the photograph. And I don't think that would have happened if I hadn't watched the tape and, you know, really paid attention to develop some of the skills that you illustrated here in those tapes. Now, you have a piece that you have just recently finished that is absolutely amazing. I know that this started with some dreams. So let's tell everybody about it.
Well, I, for the last 10 or 12 years, have had periodic tsunami dreams. And decided that I would see what would happen taking that as a subject matter to watercolor in the second dimension.
Let me ask you, where does this tsunami hit?
The tsunami in the dreams, it never quite hits. It's about to hit off the shores of Pacifica, mostly around Linamar, and then also by the Cliff House in San Francisco, and a dreamscape that is pretty much in that direction.
Has it ever fascinated you when a few times we've had tsunami warnings, people go down the niche with their binoculars?
I'm one of them.
Yeah. That never made sense to me. I mean, you're not going to live to tell about it. But anyway, tsunami.
And so I decided I was working on a few images dealing with seascapes that have primordial quality, and whether it's the beginning of the planet or the end of the planet, I'm not sure. So in that kind of setting, I created this image, which is titled A Suspiciously Low Tide. And the ocean is drawn back past the horizon, and you're looking at the seabed with, we've got ships and all kinds of sea creatures and a few surfboards. So it's a fantasy image just dealing with the notion of those moments before the big wave comes back in.
And this has been so extensive, I guess, in what you've envisioned, that you can actually see the curvature of the horizon out there instead of just a little straight horizon.
Yeah, one of the things that I started to incorporate into seascape paintings was the curvature of the earth, which is visible naturally, but generally not included in paintings.
Yeah, very
so I've made a point of just slightly exaggerating that, so you know you're on a planet.
Well, it is just amazing. The detail in this is absolutely incredible. Do you have any idea when the public will be able to see this in person?
I'm going to put it in a faculty show out at City College in January, but I don't have a specific destination for it at this point in time.
Well, I tell you what, when you do determine where it's going to be, then we'll let all our viewers know about it, so they'll have a chance to get out there, and then I'm sure they'll be able to see some of your fantastic work. And speaking of which, this, I believe, is Maury Point?
That is Maury Point. That's a watercolor that I painted from life, sitting out at the levee, and just sat down and painted this. When I paint outdoors, I have a little sign that has a picture of an open mouth and a big red X going through it, and it says, "Don't talk to me." So if you ever see me painting, don't talk to me when I'm painting.
Or don't go up to him and say, "Are you an artist?"
You get that sometimes too, don't you?
It's not a compliment when you're painting and somebody asks you if you're an artist.
And Jim, we have another piece over here that I believe is a work in progress, and this is a very rare opportunity to be able to see something like this. I'd love for the viewers at home to be able to get a good look at this.
Well, you can see that I've painted these two sections here, and it's a painting. What exists so far, which will be in the background, is an image of Shelter Cove, and there's the big point, Big Pedro Point. And the theme of this image is going to be time, so there's all kinds of time devices. It will be titled "When Time as I Knew It Ceased, or the Advent of Digital Time."
Oh, interesting. The advent of digital time, that really hits with me.
There you go.
Yeah, that really does hit, because it seems like time as we once knew it seems to be somewhat disappearing.
It does. Generations that don't relate to analog clocks,
So
there's a difference.
Your sketches or drawings are quite tight, it looks like, before you actually begin to lay on the paint. And this is an acrylic, right?
No, this is actually oil.
Oh, that's oil.
But
okay.
yeah, so pencil drawing is, in this particular case, it's pretty well refined. And then just put the paint in the right places, and it's done.
It's amazing you got to get down to Shelter Cove. How did you manage that without getting shot?
Well, being sneaky.
Oh.
Shelter Cove has a little mystical aura about it, where strangers aren't necessarily welcome.
Yeah.
And so going back to the 70s, I actually got chased out by the owner, who pulled the shotgun off his rifle rack in his pickup truck and told me, "Leave."
Oh boy.
So I left. That painting never got done.
Well, I'm just thrilled to be able to look at this. Now, you've had some really interesting shark experiences, and just in case we run out of time, I do want to say that Jim has written a wonderful article, and it's called "Making Peace with the Predators." And Jim also has a series of tips on a very serious vein here on what you should do if you do see a shark. I tend to be in denial. I pretend like they don't exist, although once in a while I'll get a spooky feeling. And the few times that I've had the spooky feeling, there has been, I found out, one time I was down in Manresa Beach, and it felt really spooky when I was out there, but I just kind of made myself stay in the water, but then found out that the day before there had been a great white shark sighting, and I had a similar experience out in Lindemar. Now, you are no novice when it comes to sharks. You've had a few experiences which led you to write this article, right?
That is true. It was in June 20th, 1996, that I was surfing out right by State Park in Lindemar Beach, and I was sitting outside the pack a little bit, and after catching a wave, paddled back out and was kind of amazed to see that the pack of 12 people weren't there any longer. And I thought, oh great, I've got this all to myself. And in my peripheral...
That should have been the first clue.
That was a clue, but I didn't get it. So in my peripheral vision, I heard some splashing and saw a little action in the water, and without focusing on it, I first thought maybe a surfer just kind of spaced out and fell off his board, and it looked like a red board with a black swim fin flipping back in the water. Then I'm going, longboarders don't wear swim fins. So I went and looked directly at it, and as I'm looking, the dorsal fin was already up, and up came the tail fin, and just like the Nature Channel, a huge great white shark was devouring a sea lion, which it had dragged underwater, and what I saw as red was actually a huge pool of red blood in the water. So, being observant is I actually spent a moment just looking at it, kind of fascinated, until it clicked like maybe it's time to get out of the water. Mm-hmm. And then it was a lull, so there were no waves to ride in. So eventually I just, with determination, paddled back to shore, and actually in the space that it put me in mentally, which was kind of slowed down and dreamy, when I got back to the shore, I couldn't understand why there was a crowd of maybe 40 people on the beach staring out at this maroon spot in the water. Mm-hmm. And it took me a while to realize, oh, they're looking at the shark that I just left in the midst of its meal.
Talking about time, is it like time stands still at those moments, doesn't it?
It was very slow, and mm-hmm. I'm really grateful that that I didn't panic, because I've had, dreams about sharks, and I've had thoughts about sharks, and the thoughts and dreams are usually panicky, and it was just fortunate in reality that I stayed calm and basically got out of the water with a minimum of splashing.
Well, here, we'll keep some waves to yourself. Tell you what, if you're afraid of sharks, don't surf around Jim.
Oh, I'm afraid of sharks, but I'm respectful. When you go surfing, that's just part of the risk you take, because they are in the water. But shark attacks are so rare.
Yeah, well, I understand you're saying that you can become mesmerized, which you've mentioned to me about this. I was in Costa Rica. In fact, it was my first surfing trip to Costa Rica. Last session, on my way out of the water, surfing in, and right in front of me, right across, went a shark. And I didn't panic. I'm surprised. I just looked at it and I went, wow. And I put my board down on the beach. Of course, it was no great white, but I put my board out. As soon as I got out of the water, I put my board down, because I was riding an 8.4 at the time, and I thought, well, if I could look at this in relationship to what I saw, I can get some sort of an idea how big this shark was. I said it was probably about 5.5 feet. But it was just mesmerizing, and you just realize you are taking part of putting yourself in a position where you're enjoying yourself, but you are really in someone else's world. We are in the world that belongs to the sea, to the sea, all the sea life and sea creatures.
Yeah, it's a veritable wilderness.
Yeah.
So.
Well, his article is absolutely fantastic, and if you go to surfpedropoint.org, you will be able to find Jim's article as well as his shark tips. Now, you've done something else that's really cool, and you made this board that's called the Terminator. What's the story on it?
Well, though I've been accused occasionally of dropping in on other people, sometimes I get frustrated when surfers drop in on me, basically taking a wave away. And so I made this little fantasy board with saw blades and crystal wands, actually the drop-in eliminator.
Oh, oh, okay.
So-
Okay. I thought it was called the Terminator.
Well, it would be terminal if I actually served it.
Yeah, most
But if I
definitely
sat on the saw blade, it would be terminal for